Okay, welcome to this new edition for JJ's War Games on YouTube. So it's 2019 and I'm conscious that I haven't put anything up recently on the channel, so I thought I might as well start redressing that with a bit of a look at the Augustus to Aurelian project, where we're at, where it's likely to be going, and a little bit of thought about the rules that I'm intending to use. So in the current picture here you can see the range of units that have so far been created for this Romano-Dacian collection, which is the initial stage of my ancients collections for Augustus to Aurelian. And you can see there we've seen the building of skirmish units. There's some Dacian archers at the front, the legionaries. Few legionary units have been put together using the new Victrix range, but more to come. A lot of war bands. There's 6 war bands now in the collection. Number 7 is next to be featured. Just recently, obviously, we've had the Sarmatian cavalry coming together, the first element. So you can see at the back there the light units and Sarmatian cataphracts. We've had some supply wagons put together using some of Colonel Bill's great loads and figures to go along with the wagons and animals to tow them, and even things like Dacian catapults, Scorpio bolt throwers, and just recently I've put together some new command bases designed to allow an easier use of these bases with the recognition numbers, the identity numbers based on the chits that get pulled from the counters. These are all functional so that I can detach and put on different character identifiers onto the bases. These are also used when we're doing the campaign map. More to come on that, and I'll show you how that works, but Steve and I are actually play testing that at the moment. And then obviously these are quite detachable, so that we can change over various different commanders according to who we want on the table at any given time. So those are the new command Sarbo bases. And then there's a range there of the unit cards I've put together for Augustus Aurelian to enable unit game-specific units to be selected, just to make it easier for players to find the various stats that they want to use in any particular part of the game. There's a shot of the rules themselves, Augustus to Aurelian. Currently, as I understand, out of print from Two Fat Lardies. Whether that'll change, I don't know. I guess if more people get enthused about what we're doing here on JJ's War Games and want to get hold of them, then it's a question and a conversation to be had with the Lardies, but yeah, not available at the moment. And in addition to that, just recently I and a few of the chaps have started working on our own QRS sheets. I wasn't very satisfied with the original ones that Phil Hendry put together, so as is my wont, I've actually put together my own version of it, incorporating stuff that I didn't feel was captured so well from the rules in the first QRS, and also enabling us to update it, because we've looked at things like bringing Augustus to Aurelian out of just specifically looking at the Principate part of the Romans, and also getting into the earlier periods with pike phalanxes, Punic Wars, that sort of thing, right through to the latter periods with the Dark Ages and fielding warband armies. So we found the rules very easily adaptable, and I think in time we'll certainly be bringing more additions to the rules through our own playing and our own games. Okay, so you can see there the units that have been put together so far. This is the foreseeable project. I'm looking to eventually have 12 warbands of Dacians supported by 18 units of Sarmatian cavalry. So that'll form the core of my Dacian Sarmatian armies. To go against them, I'm going to have somewhere in the order of about 8 cohorts of legionaries. So there's a cohort group seen down there, supported by 8 cohorts of auxiliaries, and then additional units of light troops and auxiliary cavalry units, federati units to go alongside those Romans. The aspiration is to be able to field about 35 units as a maximum for each faction, if you like, for Romans and Dacian Sarmatians. Those will be the rarer and top end of the scale. I'm looking at average gains of perhaps 20-25 units a side, so that's what I'm looking to do. Once the core collection for the Romano-Dacians are done, which I'm hoping I should break the back of this year, then we're going to look at 12 warbands of Germans, with the warbands looking very similar to that Dacian one there at the back. So they're in units of 36 figures, with a couple of figures extra for showing their brave warrior markers. So about 38 warriors per warband. 12 of those, again supported by probably about half a dozen or so light units and 3 or 4 light cavalry units to build a German army. They will also allow me then to do some of the later wars as well, for the Marcomannic wars with Sarmatians, Carpi Dacians and Quadi and Marcomanni Germans. So amongst my German warbands I will mix in a few more armoured variants, just to show the upgrade that the Germans were going through at that period. Why Augustus to Aurelian? Well, the one thing I really love about Augustus to Aurelian is that we're able to use chit activation, which is common in the horse and musket. I mean, you've got rule sets like muskets and tomahawk, sharp practice, etc., that do that sort of thing. But I think this is relatively unique to the ancient period. So I love that activation process, and I also like the scale of these rules, which follows along from things like Warhammer, Ancient Battles and Hail Caesar, where you've got delineated units and units operating in so-called divisions, but obviously they would have operated probably in some sort of a group format. It's just a modern terminology that's slapped on top to facilitate that. I like that. I like the games it produces, so I'm hoping to show what these games will look like as we go forward, and give you an idea of why I think these are a good set of rules to think about. That said, I know there's a lot of people out there in the Ancients world looking for the perfect set of rules. I don't for one minute imagine these are going to suit everybody, but they suit me, and hopefully I can produce some really nice games with them before turning my attention to looking at some other interesting periods in history. Anyway, so next up, after the Sarmatian Light Cavalry and the General Officer Sabo bases I've just done, I'm going to be moving back to looking at getting the Dacian warbands finished, and then we will be looking at finishing off the Sarmatians with a couple of extra units of light cavalry, before turning attention to the Romans with additional units of auxiliaries, Praetorian Guard, legionaries and Roman light troops. So lots to come this year, lots of work ahead. But I hope you're enjoying what's come, and this taster of what's likely to come going forward. If you've got any ideas that you'd like me to include going forward, and particularly how you'd like to see the YouTube channel being used, with any ideas on that front, please leave some comments, and they're all noted and put in the Brains Trust for trying to take this thing forward and keep it entertaining for everybody. Okay, well, thank you very much, and I hope you've enjoyed this little snapshot, and look forward to talking to you a bit later on. Cheers now, bye.